my god, is that Pico.Blurred?
What's going on YouTube? It's Pico.Blurred and I got a banger for you guys. My client right here has gone a long time without a haircut. He's going on vacation, so you know we had to get him right. He's going for the taper mullet. He's got super thick curly hair, so let's get it going. He always looks so sad in the fucking video, bro. Y'all can smile, bro. So to kick things off, I'm just gonna be combing out his hair and sectioning the top away from the sides, mostly in that temple area where we're gonna be doing the taper. I'm not really gonna touch the back, as the back is, it's not as long as the top, so I don't really touch the back in this, but I'm definitely gonna section the sides from the top of the head. And we are gonna take a bunch of length off the top since it is a mullet. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is just creating a kind of perimeter, kind of like the longest length that I'm going to go on this taper. And I want to connect the parietal ridge area into the back. So as I'm setting this perimeter in, you'll notice that as I get closer to the back, I'm kind of pivoting out. I'm bringing and over directing the hair outwards just so it matches the length of the back of the head. In my opinion, when you're doing a mullet, I don't like just shaving everything on the side temple area and then leaving all kinds of bulk. I like to have the hair flow nicely into the back like it's all one uniform length. You're not gonna see any bulks of hair that's not supposed to be there. It's not gonna be one length to then a whole bunch of hair. So I like to make sure that it flows nicely and natural into the back of the head. So right here, I'm going to use my number 2 guard, and basically I'm just clearing out bulk so I can see what I'm doing when I'm ready to get my fade in. You'll notice that I do this on both sides of the head. I'm just clearing out bulk, and then I'm not going past that initial bulk guideline around the parietal ridge that I set in, because that's obviously going to be the longest length of this taper. And after clearing out all the bulk, I slap on my number 4 guard just to go ahead and blend directly into that bulk up top. My number 4 guard shouldn't leave any other lines. It should blend seamlessly from the number 2 up into that bulk. And I'm flicking out so it blends in super easily. I'm not trying to dig in and create another line for myself. So now that I got kind of a basis for my fade done, I'm gonna set in my initial bald line using my trimmers. And I like to use my trimmers for this, like I said in my other videos, just because I know that I can get the lines out and I know that it's going to get really close to the skin. Now to set in my second guideline, using my clipper all the way open, I'm going up about 1/2 inch. I'm trying not to stretch this blend out too much. I think a low taper looks better on this type of style, so I'm trying to keep it pretty low. And then after I'm done setting that in, it's time to start blending that section out. So I'm starting with my clipper open, and then I'm closing it little by little as I go down. And as you go down, you'll start to see that line disappear. Next, I take my number 1 guard, and the same thing, I'm going up about 1/2 inch. Really not trying to stretch this blend out too much. I'm really trying to keep a lot of the darkness around the parietal ridge, so then it kind of holds his curls in place, and then still getting that bald transition. And now to take out my number 1 guideline, I use my 1/2 guard, and again, I'm starting with the lever open towards the top, and as I go down, I'm closing that lever little by little until I see that line disappear. And as you can tell, I'm using a bunch of the corners, so I'm not trying to use the full blade. Time to start attacking those dark areas between the number 2 and the number 4. I'm using my 1.5 guard, and I'm using a lot of the corners. Like I said, you want to use a lot of corners because you don't want to use the full blade. You don't want to create lines that you don't have to, and you don't want to push that fade up any higher than you're supposed to. So, and I'm always starting with my lever open and closing it as I go down, just to be safe. And I still see some dark areas that I'm not happy with, so I slap on my number 2 guard again, and I'm using the lever open, using my corners, and trying to hit some dark spots around the parietal ridge area without taking out the length and taking out the shape. And to really enhance the shape that I want on this taper and this mullet style, I'm going to use clipper over comb, just getting rid of the bulk that I see, getting rid of some lines of demarcation that I see up in that parietal ridge area. It's all really about really refining that shape and detailing it to where it's a seamless blend. Otherwise, you're not really going to set yourself apart from the other barbers. And as you do to one side, you always do to the other. So I'm going to let you guys watch this in fast motion. And just pay attention to all the steps that I'm using. I'm using the same exact steps as the other side. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know if you guys want to see some other hairstyles that I can do a tutorial on, if you have any styles that you particularly want to see. And now to add some finishing touches, I'm using thinning shear over comb. I just want to take out some of the heaviness without taking out the darkness, so that's why I'm using my thinning shears. This can really help your blends get to the next level. It's just a really good technique, especially if you don't know how to use clipper over comb, or if you're kind of stuck with a bunch of bulky area, a bunch of thickness, but you still want to leave it dark. This is a great way to achieve that. Time for one of the most important parts of your fade, of your taper, whatever, is that edge up. So I start off at the top of the C cup, putting in kind of a rough draft, and then I go put a line at the bottom, and then I meet those together using kind of a swooping motion, an arcing motion, using my corners, and I'm trying to keep it as natural as possible while also keeping it dark. I'm not trying to push it in. I'm just cutting the overlying hairs. And you don't want to be digging into your client's skin, or else you will leave red marks, and that's not a good look for everybody else. You know, it's your walking advertisement. You want to make sure it looks as good as possible. And also, I think it just brings everything to the next level when you get it as sharp as possible. You'll see a bunch of hairstylists, and they'll do the edge up around, but it's not super sharp, so it just looks like the haircut isn't finished or it's lacking. I like to make sure that everything is really, really sharp, and the lineups are dark where they need to be, and just keeping it natural. You don't want to push it in, or else it'll look off too if you do push it in, because then there's going to be a different tone of skin. It'll just look white because of where the hair is, and the sun doesn't reach that skin. It'll just look off. So don't push in. Keep it as natural as possible, but you still can get it really sharp if you do it that way. To really achieve that mullet look, you want to make sure that the top is cut pretty short compared to the back. So what I'm doing right here is I'm taking my hair in a profile section and I'm tying it into the back. You'll notice that I bring the back hair up. I want to over direct that back hair up to the rest of the guideline, just so I know that the back is going to be longer than the top. So after I'm done tying into the back, I'm going to travel down this mohawk section all the way to the front, making sure everything is all even up top. And this is going to be the base guideline to cut evenly across the whole head. So you can take your time on this step if you need to, making sure that it comes out super clean, because it is going to set you up for the, you know, all the rest of the hair on top is going to be using this guideline. So make sure that it's clean so that you can travel that through the rest of the head. I don't like a lot of overhang from the top, so I'm using a triangle section going to his line of recession on his hairline, kind of where the apex of his head and the parietal ridge meet, and I'm just tying that into my taper area. I'm connecting that so I don't have overhang, and it just looks like everything's blended into the top that way. And just like before, when I created my perimeter, I'm kind of scooping out towards the back just to match everything with the back of his head, so everything just connects all together. And now that we're done cutting in those guidelines, it's time to connect everything up top. So you'll see a length in the middle that's way shorter. That's where you cut your guideline, and you're just going to use that going back to the back of his head. You'll just use that as like a traveling guideline, going from the front to the back. And it makes it super easy because you have that mohawk section going from the back to the front. So any hair that you pull up from that middle section, you'll have shorter lengths and then the long lengths that you need to cut. And if you need to comb it up a couple times just to get the right tension, do that. I'll comb it up like 3 or 4 times before I actually cut any hair, just to make sure that all the tension is where I want it to be. All the length is exactly where it should be on my guideline, so I can go ahead and snip off that longer hair. And it's not going to be uneven just because I have the right tension that I need. So comb through that hair, keep combing. If you don't get it right the first time, comb it back up, and then snip off the hair that needs to be cut. And so I finished with my horizontal sections going from the front to the back, and now I'm doing vertical sections just to cross-check my work. Sometimes when you're cutting, you can have slightly offset hair, so you just want to go the opposite direction that you were cutting just to make sure that everything is all even on top. Alright, so I'm all done cutting the top. Now I'm gonna blow dry and style. I use a curl enhancing cream and a hair nutrient spray, and then I work it in with my hands, and then make sure you use a diffuser when you're working with curls, or use your hands as a diffuser to block the airflow. You don't want direct airflow on this type of hair, so you want to use a diffuser so it's not putting all kinds of hot air onto the curls. It'll make the curls have less volume that way, so make sure you're using a diffuser. And now with his haircut, he does book a beard service, so he wanted some length cut off of his beard, so I'm using freehand technique, and I'm shaping the bottom of the beard to go kind of a point to his chin from his jaw. I just think it accentuates his face shape a bit better that way. And we take some length off the sides just so it's not going off of the face too far out. It doesn't look all kinds of crazy. We taper it in, and we make sure it's looking clean. So I'm using freehand with my clippers, and I'm creating shape using freehand, keeping a little bit of the length of the hair just so he has more of a thick defined beard at the bottom. We're not taking off a whole bunch of length, but I do want to clean up the shape and make sure it's looking really nice. And of course, to get that beard to pop, you gotta get that sharp edge up. So I'm using my trimmers and I'm keeping it pretty low on his neckline, so it kind of creates a false like jawline for him. It makes his jawline look sharper and more stronger. So I'm keeping it low on the bottom, and then I'm making it super sharp right in front of his ear. And you kind of want to comb the hair out towards that line, just so you get all the overhanging hairs, and you'll get a super sharp line up that way. If you want to be super symmetrical, you want to kind of stand in front of your client when you're about to go to the other side of his beard, because you'll see the two lines. You'll see where it needs to connect in the middle. So stand in front of your client, and then you can see where that line needs to travel, while keeping everything nice and symmetrical. All the edge up is going to be right where you want it to be. And then so you're going to attack that other line on this side. And same thing, you're brushing that hair out to the side and you're cutting off all the overhanging hairs. I suggested this time that we go ahead and fade in the beard. Usually he'll get it just edged up to a point, but with his taper and his beard right now, it's a little bit thicker than it usually is. So I thought that a nice blend, a nice fade transition was gonna just make this taper pop a little bit more. So I went ahead and just faded in his beard instead of just doing the point. And if you want to get the sharpest edge up on the cheek, you have to be able to use a straight razor. That's what's going to get you the sharpest edge up. When you're using a straight razor, you kind of want to go at a 45-degree angle, and you're just going to glide it across the skin. Make sure you're stretching the skin opposite of the direction that you're pulling, so you don't cut it. You're kind of stretching out the skin, making it super flat so that blade can glide across it without getting caught up on his skin. So make sure you're really stretching that, getting a good grip. You're stretching that skin away from your cutting blade, and then you're gliding it towards that line. Again, keeping this line as natural and as high as possible to make that beard really pop. And now we're pretty much done with all of our steps. I'm cleaning him off. You don't want him leaving with all kinds of hair all over him, so I'm dusting him off. I use my air duster, and then I'm going to spray him with the alcohol just so he doesn't get any razor bumps. He leaves and his skin is super clean. You want to make sure that it's nice and sanitized. And we're done with the taper, with the mullet. So here's the finishing product. I hope you guys like this look on him. He usually gets a taper mullet. I just haven't had the chance to make a tutorial. So here's that tutorial for you guys. If you guys had any trouble, if you guys want to learn about this, take a look at this transition, take a look at my steps, and hopefully I can get you guys to really pull off this kind of hairstyle. It's your boy Pico.Blurred. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.